The young, which is 1. La Yasha'al, which means to Israel. Imagine in the room, which means stand. So Punyak go, which means turn and face the east. and Michael, the angels, and any general your honor, the general, the captain, the officer, the troop, and the system, your house, in the name of your house, child. Thank you. So be it. Prayer for the prophesied church. Blessed are you, your house, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. Your house, in the name of your house, child. Listen to us now, right now, that evil in person, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against them, God's prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the schools, say evil in person, the punishment and destruction to the heathen, and say loose the treasure of the rich of Israel. They refuse to give them food, force their riches to enter into our sanctuary. Say evil in person, and punishment and destruction to the Edomites and the nation and their drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Islam, Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation, skinheads, oxycomatazes, the gay movement, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space program, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Wall Street, open up the internet and the airwaves, the cable access channel, the radio channel, convict the spirit of any of God's people that seek to stop it, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way, but try to stop us from broadcasting your word throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues, cause them to go to and fro through the earth and consume you. Let the plague take the house of the thief and the murder. Let your house shot, Michael and Gabriel, come down with the flying saucers and punish all the heathen that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that it is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread to the media throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of your house, child. Thank you always. So be it. Yo, some extra curses to the gay movement and the lesbian movement for what they just the way that they just did you see what happened with Snoop Dogg? They humbled the hell out of that brother. You remember the comments that he made a few months ago where he said he took his kids to see Lightyear, and he was like, damn, I can't even take my kids to the movie without seeing some gay stuff. Right, and so fast forward, 2 months? They made him not only do a whole podcast for anti-LGBT bullying day, then they made him do it. He has an animated kids show, right? Called Doggyland. Right. They made him do a whole episode of Doggyland where they did a song called Love is Love. And they showed all different types of parents. Right. And they said everybody's parents is different, but it's all love. An animated child show. So now that's what happens if you want to be a celebrity in this world, you want to be in this music industry, you're gonna bow down and accept what they push. And that's we just saw that play out in 4K. Because the second he said that, they came back at him, and fast forward, and he's saying the complete opposite. So that's how you know those are not his thoughts. Those are the thoughts that he's being told, you better say this. This is the message that you're going to be about, Snoop Dogg. You're going to be for love is love, and everybody's parents can be, whether you got two daddies or two mommies, or a mommy that used to be your daddy, or a daddy that used to be your mommy. It's all love. That's the message that you're going to push, Snoop Dogg. That's what they told him. And he did it. He did it. He swallowed that pill. He didn't even hesitate. Handed over his whole kids show and everything. And that's why we constantly say that it's so important to push back on this deviance and to not,
the most sinister thing that's going on today when it comes to that, and we right on topic because we just covered in Leviticus, we just covered Leviticus 22. But it's so important because the most sinister thing in this culture is when they say, oh, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. What two grown adults do doesn't affect me. It, it affects. It should affect you now if you got kids. If you got kids, you can't even turn on what, I don't know. Do they still have Nick Jr.? You can't even turn on whatever you turn on in the morning for your kids without them seeing LGBTQ agenda. That's crazy. They shouldn't even be thinking about what that is. All they should know is I got a mommy and a daddy, and they kiss and hug. That's it. But now they got to work. Well, I guess you can be a boy and then just decide you're going to be a girl. Or I guess two boys can kiss and hug. Now you got to plant that thought in their mind when they're 5 and 6 and 7 years old. That's an agenda. That's sick. That's perversion. The fact that they have to normalize their lifestyle by putting something in and it's such a reminder that it's so unnatural because kids shouldn't even be thinking about this. But you got to put that in their mind. You got to make songs and push it and push it.
Salaki, what you're bringing out is so heavy. This notorious LGBTQ black man by the name of Billy Porter,
Right.
Billy Porter is flamboyant, you know what I'm saying? Dresses up in women's clothing.
Yep.
They put him on Sesame. He was on Sesame Street.
He was on Sesame Street. Did he like sit? Did he do something? Oh wow! In a dress. In a whole woman's dress. That's crazy. See, these are the things. And when we was little, Sesame Street was like untouchable.
Right.
Like that was the most neutral. No matter what, any parent you could put on Sesame Street and you shouldn't have to worry. Right. Your kids are just gonna learn numbers and letters and how to share. But now they're gonna learn that a boy can wear a dress. That's sinister. That's why it's not, they're just minding their business. Who cares what two men do behind closed doors? It's not behind closed doors anymore.
Right.
Because as soon as you give a little, they're going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And at some point, it is going to affect you. And then you're going to say, well, why didn't I speak up before? Why didn't I say, no, this is not acceptable? No, we're not going to act like this is normal. No, I'm not going to talk. No, you can, and you can be. There's a way to handle this with tact, right? Because you ain't got to go, to your slavery and start telling everybody that they F words and that they need to get stoned, right? There's a way to handle this with tact, but you just don't normalize it. You don't like play into their delusion. You don't call a him a they them. You don't speak to a woman as if you're speaking to a man just because they put on makeup, or vice versa. But we're gonna dive into the Hebrew and pick it up where we left off last week at Leviticus 19 and 18. La'at akum wa la'at tar asbanya aimka Wa'abath, Laraika, Kamalka, Anya Yahweh, verse 19, Afchaquathia, Dasharwa, Bahamathka, La'a, Darabaya, Kalaayam, Shadka, La'a, Bazurai, Kalaayam, Wabagad, Kalaayam, Shaitan Salakit, Shaitnats, La'a, Ya'ila, Aliyaka, verse 20, Wayash, Kaya, Yashakab, Athasha, Shakabath, Zerai, Wa'a, Shabcha, Nakarpath, Layash, Wahapada, La'a, Napadasa, Awakapash, Salaki Chabashah, La'ad and the son, La Bakarath, the Haya La'ah, Yawmathwa, Kaya La'ah, Dabashah, verse 21. Wahabiyah, Af, Ashamwa, La Yahweh, Al Pathach Ahal, or Aid, Ayal Asham, verse 22. Wakapar, Aliwa, Hakahan, Bayal, Hasham, Lapanya Yahweh, Al Hatamath, Saak Al Khatathwa, Mashar Khata, Wanasalach, Lawa, Khatathwa, Mashar Khata, verse 23. Wakaya, the Bawa Al Harataza, Wanataitham, Kalaitaza, Makal, Wairalatham, Arlathwa, Af Parua, Shalash, Shunium Yahaya, Lakam, Irolium, La'ah, Yakal, 24, Wabishana, Harbi Aith, Yahaya, Kal, Parua, Quadash, Haluwalayum, La Yahweh, and back to the English, verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. And so there's a bunch of different laws in this chapter, a little bit all over the place, but they all have a common thread. This is how you have a nation, by caring about your brother, by having it in your law where you have to mend differences, where your issues and what goes around you is bigger than just yourself. Verse 9. So this is talking about you shall not avenge or have a grudge against your people, meaning if you got an issue, go to them. You got an issue, go to them and deal with it. Figure it out. Don't just walk around, mean mugging a dude because it's something that he did a year ago that he's not even thinking about. Verse 19, you shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. Thou shalt not sow thy field with mingled seed. Neither shall the garment mingled of linen and woolen come upon thee. And this all has to do with business. You don't let your cattle gender with a diverse kind, because when you sell cattle, it has to do with pedigree. They want to know that it's purebred, right? They want to know that to this day, when you buy any animal, you want to know its pedigree. You want to know its breed. Same thing if you sow in your field with mingled seed, you're going to bring that to the market and sell them, some corn with some, not corn. And you're going to bring a garment mingled of linen and woolen and try to sell the whole thing as one thing. You're cheating people. That's what this is about. Verse 20, whosoever lieth carnally with a woman that is a bondmaid betrothed to an husband and not at all redeemed, nor freedom given her, she shall be scourged. They shall not be put to death because she was not free. So if you lie, if you know that this woman, she's a bondmaid, she's betrothed, she hasn't been redeemed from being a bondmaid, meaning she hasn't been bought out of her slavery, which is a throwback to other scriptures when you learn what being redeemed is, what being bought is being freed. If you lie down with her, she's going to be scourged because she violated the betrothal, but she wasn't free. Verse 21, and he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, even a ram for a trespass offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering before the Lord for his sin which he hath done. And the sin which he hath done shall be forgiven him. And when ye shall come into the land, and shall have planted all manner of trees for food, then ye shall count the fruit thereof as uncircumcised. 3 years shall it be as uncircumcised unto you. It shall not be eaten of. But in the 4th year, all the fruit thereof shall be holy to praise the Lord withal. So that when it says count the fruit as uncircumcised, what's uncircumcised? A heathen. So just like you wouldn't deal with the heathen, you're not going to deal with that fruit until it's ready, until the land has been, broken in. Verse 25, and in the 5th year shall ye eat of the fruit thereof, that it may yield unto you the increase thereof. I am the Lord your God. And back to the Hebrew, up from verse 25. Oshna, Hakamayashath, Dakalwa, Aspariwa, Lahawasap, Lakam, the Boathwa, and Yehawa Alahayakum, verse 26. La'ah, Dakalwa, Al Hadam, La'ah, Tanakashwa, Wala'ah, Dayunanwa, verse 27. La'ah, Thakwapwa, Pa'ath, Rashkum, Wala'ah, Dashakhiath, Aspa'ath, Zakwanka, verse 28. Washrat, Lanapash, La'ah, Dunwa, Babasharkum, Wakazabath, Kwai, La'ah, the Sunwa, Become, Anya Yahweh, verse 29, Al Thachalal, Al Bathka, Wahazan Wath, Wahazan Watha, Wala'ah, Dazana, Haratza, Umala'ah, Haratza, Zama, verse 30, Ash Shabbathathia, Dashmarwa, Kodashia, Derawa, Anya Yahweh, verse 31, Al Thapnwa, Al Habath, Al Haydanium, Al Makwashwa, Latma, Bahum, Anya Yahweh, Al Hayakum. Back to the English. You shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall you use enchantment, nor observe times. You shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. Again, this chapter is laws of all different topics, but not to eat anything with the blood, not to use enchantment, not to observe times. These are all, one thing about these are all heathen customs. You shall not round the corners of your heads. You're not going to cut your hair like them heathens. We're not to get shape ups. You're not to alter the natural line of your hair. That's why a lot of brothers in the UPK prefer to let their hair grow out, braid it up. You can do whatever you want with it like that, but you can't line it up. You can't get a shape up. You can't, shave the sides and let the top grow out. You can't do none of that. That's not our ancient culture. Neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard, which that means you can trim your beard. You can keep it short and close. You can let it grow long like Aaron, but you cannot line up your beard. You can't do a little thing like this. You can't have a goatee. You can't have, unless that's naturally how your hair grows on your face, but you can't line up your beard or shave the sides you can't do that. You let your beard grow. You can have it short or long, but you got to have a beard on your face if your facial hair grows. Verse 28, you shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. That's simple. This is another heathen custom to make it, because really tattoos, and if you go back into it, all come from the Japhethites, the Polynesians and the people on the islands. That's who really started that. And then that spread out because, white people think it's fun to turn their whole body into a canvas. But we're not meant to do that. You're not supposed to put any marks on you. Now, if you got tattoos, you got them. You ain't got to go break your bank trying to get them removed. You didn't know. You did that in your ignorance. We all did things in our ignorance, but you can't do that going forward in this culture. You can't tattoo anything. I don't care if it's a scripture. I don't care if it's your mother's birthday. You're not supposed to. Matter of fact, a lot of the tattoos our people get directly violate the other part of this, doing it for the dead. You're not supposed to make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead. This is all heathen culture. Printing anything, your body's not a canvas. Verse 29, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. So this is talking about how, matter of fact, this is so on topic. We just had a big mayoral debate here in New York. Shout out to anybody joining on Harlem, on Queens. And they got Cuomo, the old school guy that everybody knows him. His father was the mayor. He was the governor until he had to resign for being a sexual harasser to all his employees. He's running against Zoran Mamdani, which is they like to call him a communist, right? He's a Middle Eastern guy. He's a young guy. And he, in this debate, because we got a big problem in the city with wide open, rampant prostitution. Like if you go to Queens, if you go down Roosevelt Avenue, it'll blow your mind, because our people is out there from the from the Northern Kingdom, the Asherites and the Zebulonites. That's all that they live out there. But Moab buys all the stores up and down Roosevelt Avenue, and they got these Moabite hookers standing in the doorway half naked all day and all night. And the kids, they even did a news story where they followed some little girl on her regular morning walk to school and showed all the hookers that she got to pass by, and shout out to everybody checking in, Officer Mariah Allah, Troop Mathumyad, everybody else. But they followed this little girl on her walk to school, and she just got to pass hookers and guys passing out the advertisement cards for the hookers, and they literally just standing in the doorway calling people in. And she was telling how she'll see, teenage boys go in the door and they'll bring them downstairs. And this is our neighborhood, and the Moabites go and set up, and they do it out in the open. Everybody knows it. They put it on the front page of the newspaper at least once a year, and they don't do anything about it. So they brought this up in the debate. And Mamdani said that he would be for legalizing prostitution because it would be safer for the women, which of course is ludicrous. But this is the point that we have this law for. You can't just have that happen and it doesn't harm anybody. It breaks down the whole community. If you allow your daughter to be a whore, the land falls to whoredom. The land becomes full of wickedness. She's not doing that by herself. People are coming into her. So now you're affecting families. Now men are able to indulge in all their deviances without out in the open. Now you're spreading diseases. Now, of course, you have the absurdity of many men dealing with one woman, which is disgusting just the thought of it. And it just spreads out from there. You can't just have deviant, just like we were talking about at the beginning with the freak community, the LGBT community. You can't just have deviants go on in a corner. If you condone it, if you say it's okay, it spreads throughout. It affects every aspect of the culture. Now they said, well, what a man and a man do behind closed doors is their business. Now Snoop Dogg has a children's animated show where they're singing songs saying that you could have two men as a parent. And that's what they're showing to your 5 and 6 year old. That's why these things can't just exist in a corner. It can't exist at all. Verse 30, you shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. So everything in here is just don't take any aspect of heathen culture. Don't do any of the stuff they do. Don't cut your hair like them. Don't be whores like them. Don't consult enchantments and things like them. Don't eat like them. Don't farm like them. Don't cheat people in business like them. Don't be like the heathens. Back to the Hebrew from verse 32. Punya Sheba, the Kuum, Wahadarath, Parizakun, Wayraath, Malahayaka, Anyehawa, verse 33. Wakaya, Yagawar, Athkagar, Baratzakum, La'ah, the Onewa, Athwa, verse 34. Hazarach, Makum, Yahaya, Lakum, Hagar, Athkum, Wahabath, Lawa, Kamorka, Kaya, Garyam, Hayathum, Barataza, Matazarium, Anya Hawala Hayakum, verse 35. La'ata Aishwa, Aiwal, Bamashpat, Bamadah, Bamashqual, Wabamashwat, Wamoshwara, verse 36. Mazunya, Hazadak, Abunya, Hazadak, Iapath, Hazadak, Wahayun, Hazadak, Yahaya, Lakum, Anya Hawa, Lahayakum, Ashar, Hawatazathia, Athkum, Arataza, Matazarium, verse 37. Washmaratham, Athkal, Makwathia, Wa'ath, Kalmashpatya, Wa'aishathum, Athum, Anya Hawa, verse 20 and verse 1. Waidabar, Yahweh al Mashala Amar. And back to the English. Verse 32, thou shalt rise up before the hoary head and honor the face of the old man and fear thy God. I am the Lord. And that's a description of a righteous and a beautiful society, because everybody that you see that has age, that has a hoary head, is supposed to be honorable and respectable. You're not supposed to have to walk outside this door and see old Black and Hispanic men laid out across the sidewalk, strung out on drugs, which is what's going to happen when we walk out this door. That's never, and nobody should ever for a second be okay with it. And the problem is we're too used to it as a people in the community. Of course, if you're in the ISUPK, if you're watching this video, you're not okay with it. But our people as a whole, it's too normalized. That should never, ever be the case. When you see an old Black man, or if you see an old Black woman, she shouldn't be wilding out. These should be respect, because they grew up in our culture and our ways, and now they're passing those ways on to the next generation. That's a right society. Verse 33, and if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And so there's two aspects. Of course, a lot of people get hung up on this. When you go into the Hebrew, the word stranger, we just read it a few times, the word gar. Now that stranger, there's context to all that, but what it does not mean is that anybody can just roll up into our land and, just become an Israelite. That was never, ever the case, biblically speaking. But if a stranger, what can happen is a stranger from another part of the land who is an Israelite can roll up and you don't know him, but you're going to treat him right. You don't know that brother. You might never have heard of him. You might want to look at him funny. Like, what are you doing here? Who are you? Might be some Asherite from way over at the edge of the earth coming down to Jerusalem. You're going to open your doors and treat him and love him as your neighbor. And also, when travelers in our kingdom, man, like, it's not like, we talk about the white man's the devil, but it's not like in our kingdom, somebody's going to roll up looking to travel through or do business, and we're just going to stone them at the border. Nah, you could do business. You can treat people right. That's what's supposed to happen. It's the white man that spread violence and death and destruction throughout the earth. But you're supposed to be able to travel through and treat people well. You just don't marry them. You just recognize that there's a difference, that you're above them. Verse 35, you shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight, or in measure. Now, of course, Esau lost that right now because the Lord's just going to take care of them. But in general, verse 36, just balances, just weights, a just ephah and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. So that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. A lot of these laws in this chapter are about business. You can't cheat nobody. That's heathen culture. Our culture is about brotherhood and love and community. You can't, you can't sell somebody some, some random grains thrown together and tell them it's corn. You can't sell somebody, a garment that's, mixed fabrics and tell them it's the best, the finest linen. That's what's going to happen with these Hamites, these Africans on 125th Street. If you go try to get something from them, I just bought some new frankincense from Amazon, right? And we burned it in here this morning. And as soon as it started burning, you could smell and see the difference between that frankincense we get from these Hamites out on 125th. But they're going to tell you that's the best stuff, right? Straight from the fertile lands of Ethiopia. Nah, man. Nah, it might not even be all frankincense for all you know. Because that's how heathens do business. But we're not to do business like that, because then that creates animosity in the culture. Half the issues that you got going on in your neighborhood are over bad business. Half the brothers just locked up right now is in there over something that they did over some type of business deal that went wrong, or somebody owing them money, somebody giving them bad material. That's a breakdown in society if you do bad business. So that's why we got so many laws that's really about how to do business with each other. Verse 37, therefore shall ye observe all my statutes and all my judgments and do them. I am the Lord. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, we're going to jump back into the Hebrew from verse 2. Wa'al ban yasha'ala, the Amar, ayashayash, ban yasha'ala, wa man Hagar bayasha'ala, ashar yathun, mazraiwa, lamalak, mawath, yaumath, I'm haratazah, or gamawa, ba'abun. Verse 3, wa anya thun, athpunya bayash, hawa'a, wakarathya, athu makarab, aimwa kaya, mazraiwa, nathun, lamalak, lamain, tama, athma kodasha, balahalal, athsham kodasha. Verse 4, wa'am, ha'ilam, ya'ilamwa, I'm haratazah, ath ayanun yahum, man hayash, ha'wa'ab bathathwa, mazraiwa, lamalak, labalathya, hamayath athwa. Verse 5, washmathya, anya ath panya, bayash, hawa'a, obamashapach, salakia, wa bashampakathya, wa karathya, athwa wa'ath, kal, hazanyam, acharya, wa zanwath, acharya, hamalak, makarab, aimam. Verse 6, wa hanapash shashar, the panah, al habath, wa al hayadanyam, wa zanwath, hakaryahum, wa nathathya, athpanya, banapash, hawa'a, wa karathya, athwa makarab, aimwa, wa athakodashathum, wa hayathum, Quadashim, Kaya, an Yehawa Alahayakum, verse 8, Washmarthum, Ath Thakwathia, Wa Aishathum, Athum, an Yehawa, Makodashkum. And back to the English. Verse 2, again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. And I will set my face against that man, and will cut him off from among his people, because he hath given of his seed unto Molech, to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. And if the people of the land do any ways hide their eyes from the man when he giveth of his seed unto Molech, and kill him not, then I will set my face against that man and against his family, and will cut him off, and all that go a whoring after him, to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people, and the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go a whoring after them. I will even set my face against that soul and will cut him off from among his people. So this is talking about following false gods and following a familiar spirit, and following a wizard is the same thing as following after false gods. So you're talking about giving your seed unto Molech. That's such a ridiculous, such a crazy thing that you would give your children to this false god, that you would give your children to this idol, that you got to go. You got to go, because we're talking about how important it is to be responsible for the next generation, to raise up your children right. And that goes back to everything else we were saying about the freak community, about deviance. You got to protect your children from that, and you got to raise them up right. Snoop Dogg is giving his children, his seed, over to Molech. And in the ancient world, he would have to go. Verse 7, sanctify yourselves, therefore, and be ye holy, for I am the Lord your God, and ye shall keep my statutes and do them. I am the Lord which sanctify you. Back to the Hebrew. Verse 9. Kaya ayash ashar yakulo ath abua wa'ath amua wa'ath yaumath abua wa'amua kwala damua wawa. Of course, abua and wa'amua, your ab is your father, your ama is your mother. So it's going to be about cursing your father and your mother. Verse 10, wa'ashashar yana'ab athashath ayash ashar yana'ab athashath ra'aywa mawath yomath hana'ab wanapath. Verse 11, wa'ayash ashar yashikab athashath Galah mawath Yaumathwa Shunyahum Damohum Bam. Verse 12, Wa'ayash Ashar Yashikab Afkalathwa Mawath Yaumathwa Shunyahum Dabal Aishawa Damyahum Bam. Verse 13, Wa'ayash Ashar Yashikab Azakar Mashkabya Asha Dawaiba Aisha Aishwa Shunyahum Mawath Yaumathwa Dam Yahum Bam. Verse 14, Wa'yashashar Yakwach Athasha Wa'athama Zama Wa'a Ba'ash Yashrapwa Athwa Wa'athkum Wala'a Dahaya Zama Bathukam. Verse 15, Wa'yashashar Yathun Shakabathwa Babahama Wawath Yaumath Wa'ath Habahama Daharagwa. And we're going to go back to the English from verse 9. For everyone that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He hath cursed his father or his mother. His blood shall be upon them. Which that word curse is qualal. That's to when you go into the Hebrew, qualal is to despise, to curse, basically. So it's this is when you completely despise and hate your parents, which is such a terrible thing to do, especially particularly in our kingdom. Now, even in our captivity, no matter how bad they are, there's a way to have pity on your mother and your father, and have and find compassion in your heart for your mother and your father. And that's the healthiest thing to do. I think everybody understands that, even in the world. You can't keep, you can't walk through your life with a grudge or some hard feelings towards your parents. That's going to affect you in every way. That's going to affect the way that you treat your kids. It's going to affect the way that you treat your spouse. You got to heal that. So in this captivity, you got to find a way to have, compassion on whatever things that they did. Sometimes you can talk to them. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes they're not going to hear you no matter how you talk to them. But you got to deal with that in your heart. But you can't, and that's in the state that we're in today. This is in our righteous kingdom, when your mother and your father was keeping the laws of the Most High and teaching you the laws. So that's a real horrible thing for you to turn on your parents like that. So that's why somebody like that had to go. Verse 10, and the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, which this also defines adultery, because adultery is with another man's wife. Adultery could never be a man who has a wife getting another woman who has no man. That could never be adultery. That's just not what adultery is scripturally, according to the Bible. That's what the white man calls adultery, because the white man believes in monogamy, even though he doesn't actually practice it. He just commits what he calls adultery every day. But biblically speaking, it has a definition, because a man can have more than one wife. A man taking another woman is not adultery. But the woman can only have one man. So if that woman who has a man has sex with another man, then the woman and that man, those two people are guilty of adultery. And that's what this verse says. Verse 10, and the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, because that's how you commit adultery, with another man's wife. Even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death, because that is a crime that absolutely tears apart a community. That's something that how many people, every day you can turn on the news, open up the news, and see stories of somebody killing their spouse over them committing adultery. And it's one of many reasons why it's so wrong for a woman to have more than one man, because those men, egos are going to come into play. Strength is going to come into play. And even though she's really to blame, most of the time, the other men don't even know. But you're going to hate that dude because you're going to be like, this other man was with my woman. And now it's an ego thing. And now violence is going to come out. Hands is going to come out. Weapons is going to come out. And the carnage will be whatever it is. This can't exist in society. If this happens, they got to go. They can't you can't have somebody who said, the type of grimy nigga that said in his heart, I'm gonna get that man's wife. I'm gonna get her. And then went and did it. And now that man finds out, what, y'all gonna have them two just run into each other at the market every weekend? No, that can't be. That's how you have a violent, chaotic society. So they got to go. Verse 11, and the man that lieth with his father's wife hath uncovered his father's nakedness. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. When it says their blood shall be upon them, meaning you got nobody else to blame for this but yourself. You got to go, and when you die, it's on you. And if you crazy enough, if you demented and deviant enough to go and lie down with your father's wife. And there's people that do that stuff. Listen, we know that we live in modern day Sodom, but the things they do is crazy. And there's people that do this. There's father and son that'll knock down the same woman. That's madness. That can't exist in a society. That's chaos if you let that happen. Verse 12, and if a man lie with his daughter-in-law, both of them shall surely be put to death. They have wrought confusion. Their blood shall be upon them. So if a father has a son and looks at his son's wife and wants her and lays down with her, they got to go with the quickness, because that's crazy. I just saw, I be watching too much of them true crime YouTube channels. They had a story where, this is very recent, some woman in Florida, she was like a nurse, and her husband walked in on her having sex with the husband's son on the couch. And when they brought out the story, she was like, for like a whole week, she was flirting with him, making sexual comments with him. Like, she really made this happen. That's craziness. That can't exist. You can't have a society where people do that and then just keep walking down the streets. In the white man society, that's what happens. The only reason she even got in trouble was because the son was like 17 or 15. I don't know, but the son was a teenager. That's the only reason. The son was 18. Nah, you can't have that's why the white man society is deviant. That's why the white man runs a freak society where we got to figure out how to shield our kids from transgender cartoons. Verse 13, and if a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. Snoop Dogg, you forgot your culture, Snoop Dogg. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. It is nobody's fault but your own. You was look, now a lot of times we have this conversation and we focus on the fact that most adult LGBTQ people were abused as kids or neglected as kids. And that's how they end up repeating the cycle. But guess what? The cycle got to break. And that's what we have our laws for. It's unfortunate. Once you become an adult, you got to take responsibility for your actions. That's why it says their blood shall be upon them. There's a lot of cycles that's going on in our community, whether it's terrible parenting, sexual deviance, abuse, violence. You got to break that cycle. You got to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to become a new person that's not traumatized from the abuse that you went through as a child. And we here for, if you're watching this video, we here for you in the ISUPK. We got counselors, the likes of which the world would not know outside of this school. And through that and through the power of the Most High and through these scriptures, whatever you've been through, you can get through. But cycles have to end. As an adult, you become responsible for more than just yourself. You're responsible for your community. You're responsible for the kids that you got to raise. You're responsible for anybody that's got to see your actions or hear about your actions. People shouldn't even have to read these news stories. When I was a little kid, my mother would have to shield me from the news with all the crazy things going on in New York. The news. Just reporting the news is something that you got to protect your kids from. People got to read about your deviancy now. You got to open up the regular news and read about people having sex with animals, adoptive parents abusing their kids and having sex with toddlers. And this place is demented. But that's why you have to break cycles before they continue. And they either you're going to break them or it's going to get broken for you. Verse 14. And if a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burnt with fire. So now they're not even getting stoned now. That's how crazy this one is. You're going to take a wife and then you're going to have sex with her mother too? The white man thinks something like this is funny. He would find something like this funny. He would be like, yeah, I got her mother too. Nah, that's crazy. That's madness. The scriptures say they should be burnt with fire, that there be no wickedness among you. Because that's the point. These death penalties are deterrents. If these death penalties work and everybody sees these people getting stoned, sees people being burnt with fire out in the middle of Jerusalem, and you're going to say, damn, whatever they did is wrong. Whatever they did, I better not ever do. And that's the point. Verse 15, and if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death. And ye shall slay the beast. You even got to kill the poor animal out of pity. Out of pity. That goat just got abused. You got to put that goat down. That's how crazy that is. Again, if you open up YouTube true crime, or if you turn on the news, you're gonna find stories of overwhelmingly white people laying down with the family dog. That can't exist. Back to the Hebrew. Verse 16. Washa Shar Takurab Al Kal Habahama Warbaya Asa Waragas Athasha Was Habahama Was Yaumaswa Damayahum Bum. Verse 17. Wayash Shar Yakwach Athachaswa Basabua Wa Basamua Warah As Araswa Arwasa Wahaya Dara Atharaswa Hasad Hawa Wanakaraswa Layunya Banya Aimum Arwas Achaswa Gala Iwunwa Yasha. Verse 18. Wayashashar Yashkab Athasha Dawa Wagala As Arwas Arasa As Makura Waira Wahaya Glasa As Makura As Makur Damya Wakaraswa Shanium Makurab Aimam. Verse 19. Wairas Akhwas Amaka Wakhwas Abuka La'a Bagala Kaya As Sha'arwa Ira Iwalam Washa'awa. Verse 20. Wayashashar Yashkab As the Daswa Arwarath Gadwagala Khatam Yashawa Ariwarium Yamaswa. Verse 21. Wayashashar Yakwach As Ashath Akiwa Nada Hawa Arwath Akiwa Gala Ariwarium Yahiwa. Verse 22. Washmaratham Askal Haquathia, Wa'athkal, Mashapatya, Waishathium, Athum, Wala'ah, Taquaya, Athkum, Harataza, Ashar, Anya, Mabiyah, Athkum, Shema, Lashabath, Ba. Back to the English. From verse 16. And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman, and the beast they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Same concept. If you find a woman, and you're gonna find some white women out there laying down with the family dog, you even got to put down that poor dog. Verse 17, if a man shall take his sister, his father's daughter, or his mother's daughter, and see her nakedness, and she see his nakedness, it is a wicked thing, and they shall be cut off in the sight of their people. He hath uncovered his sister's nakedness. He shall bear his iniquity. So that's why our culture was about modesty. Remember the story of Noah when he was drunken and Ham went in and looked at him and came out and laughed like it was a joke. But Shem and Japheth went backwards and covered him up with the blood. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to, even by accident. I mean, I shouldn't say even by, if it's an actual accident, but you're supposed to, with shame, turn around, cover them up. But if in this instance here in verse 17, they're seeing each other's nakedness. There's something voluntary going on here, or somebody did something on purpose here. And this man who saw his sister, whether it's his father's daughter or his mother's daughter, that's still his sister. They shall be cut off in the sight of their people. So in this case, they didn't get found having sex, but something is very, very wrong here. Verse 18, if a man shall lie with a woman having her sickness and shall uncover her nakedness, which this just means her period, he hath discovered her fountain, and she hath uncovered the fountain of her blood, and both of them shall be cut off from among their people. That is a disgusting thing, which is a reminder, because not too long ago, we went through the unclean laws, right? And if you laid down with your woman while she was bleeding, you're unclean for a certain amount of time. But this is the difference, right? If you do that, that can happen by accident, of course. Your woman it just started, the timing was bad, or she didn't realize that it had started yet, and y'all have sex and you realize, there's blood. That's not, then you unclean for the 7 days. But if you're doing this on purpose, you a nasty nigga. If you running red lights on purpose, this is not acceptable, man. Y'all out there sitting around the table having jokes and stuff about this, joking about getting your Red Wings and running red lights, and no, that's not funny. That's nasty. Leave your woman alone for a week, man. Just let her chill for a week. It's still gonna be there. The box is still gonna be there. Exercise some delayed gratification. You're not a child. You can wait a few days. You're gonna be all right. You'll live. Let your woman chill, man. Just let her chill. And she, when I say let her chill, she gonna try and get at you too, because women be they still be, can I say horny on the air? They still be feeling like that when they're on their period. But you got to tell her no, man. Just tell her no. Just be a man. Just say no. Not yet, honey. Just wait a few days. I know, baby. I just no, we can't today. Just chill. That's all you got to do. But for a man that's uncovering his woman's fountain, the Bible says you're a nasty nigga. I didn't say it. The Bible said it. Verse 19. And thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, nor of thy father's sister, for he uncovereth his near kin. they shall bear their iniquity. And if a man shall lie with his uncle's wife, he hath uncovered his uncle's nakedness. They shall bear their sin. They shall die childless. So these are even your uncle, right? That's your father's brother's wife. So you can't just not look at your father's wife. You better not look at your uncle's wife. And of course, any man's wife is off limits, but there's levels to everything. And if you're looking at your inner family's wives, that's really crazy. Verse 21, if a man shall take his brother's wife, it is an unclean thing. He hath uncovered his brother's nakedness. They shall be childless, meaning you're going to be punished by God. Now, does that mean you magically not going to be able to have children? No. If you do that, go outside these doors and do it. You'll have children. You're going to get a punishment somewhere down the line. You don't know how long children is going to make it. You don't know what type of lives they're going to end up having. Verse 22, ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. Back to the Hebrew. Verse 23, Wala'ah, the Lakwa, Bakakwath, Hagoya, Ashar, Anya, Mashlach, Wapunikum, Kaya, Athkal, Allah, Aishwa, Wakwatza, Bam. Verse 24, Wa'amar, Lakum, Athum, the Rashwa, Ath, Adamathum, Wa'anya, Athana, Lakum, Larashath, Atharatazah, Zabath, Talab, Wadabash, Anya Hawa, Alhayakum, Ashar, Hadabarathia, Athkamun, Ha'imyum, verse 25, Wahadalathum, Bayan, Habahama, Hatahar, Hatara, Watama, Wabayan, Ha'aiwa, Hatama, Latahar, Wala'ah, Ashquatzawa, Ath Napashathikum, Babahama, Wabaiwa, Wabakal Ashar, Ramash, Hadama, Ashar, Hadalathia, Lakum, Lata'ama, verse 26, Wahayathum, Laya, Kodashim, Kaya, Kodawash, Anya Hawa, Wabadal, Athkum, Man Ha'imyum, Wahewath, Laya, verse 27, Wayash, Awa, Asha, Kaya, Yahaya, Baham, Awab, Awa, Yadanya, Wawath, Yaumathwa, Babun, Yargumwa, Thumb, Dam Yahum, Bam, verse 1, Wayamar, Yahwa al Masha, Amar al Akahanyum, Ban Yaharun, Wamarath, Alahum, Lanapash, La'ah, Yatama, Ba'imiwa, verse 2, Kaya Am, Ash'arwa, Hakrab, Aliwa, La'amwa, Wala'abiwa, Walabunwa, Walabathwa, Wala'achiwa. Back to the English. Verse 23, and ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. So this is the point. All these things, we've gone all over the place. We've covered tattoos, beards, incest, homosexuality, cheating people in business in these last couple of chapters. And the point of all this is we got our culture. They got theirs. We are not to be like the heathens. The heathen culture is disgusting. It's vile. It's filthy. It's wrong. It's weird. It's uncouth. It's degenerate. It's classless. And we're supposed to reject all of these things. But instead, we do every one of these things today here in America. Our people are known for everything we just read because we took on the heathen's culture. Verse 24, but I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from other people. Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable by feast or by fowl or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I the Lord am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. So we covered very recently all the clean and unclean animals, all the clean and unclean birds, all the clean and unclean insects. There's a few classes of insects that you can eat. The rest you cannot. We covered all of that, and we are to put a difference between clean beasts and unclean. And we are to put a difference between our people and our culture and every other culture. Because the scripture said that God has severed us from other people. Now, once you read that the Most High severed us from other people to be holy, to be his, how are you going to join back to people that God severed you from? Just let that simmer. Just let that marinate. Verse 27, man or woman that hath a familiar spirit or that is a wizard shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. Now remember, all right, this is not a Disney wizard. All right, this is not Mickey Mouse in a pointy hat casting spells. A wizard is anybody that makes potions. A wizard is a drug dealer. All right. Walk down 125. I'm sure whatever city y'all live in, there's a 125th in Lexington that you can walk down and see people that are under a spell right now. The scripture says, they shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. Chapter 21. And the Lord said unto Moses, speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them, there shall none be defiled for the dead among his people, but for his kin that is near unto him, that is, for his mother and for his father and for his son and for his daughter and for his brother and for his sister a virgin that is nigh unto him. Oh, and that's where we're going to stop for this week. We're going to be right here next week, picking it up in Leviticus 21 and 3. La Yasha'ala, which means to Israel. Imagine you're in the room, start putting out the dome, which means stand, turn, face the east. Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanaw, Shabashamayim, Kurashaya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakaka, Tabaa, Ratazah, Hayah, Aisha, Baratazah, Hawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathunana, Wacham, Kaliwan, Wasalakuna, Hawafno, Kasalakna, Hawafna, Walaa, Abiyana, Banasewan, Abal, Hawshanu, Mayan, Ra, Kayak, Lakab, Kamalapa, Wa'ala, Wasapara, Laulunga, Amun. The English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. Prayer for the power structure in Hebrew. Rakadai Yahweh. Wa Yahweh Shah. Wa Mayakah. Wa Alahai. Matazabi Alawabihan. Alawabi. Hasrun. Hapazian. Hakayali. Wahagwati. Yahweh. Bashim Yahweh Shah. The Wada Amun. The English. Bless you, Yahweh. And Yahweh Shah. And Mike. And the angels. Commanding General Nihan. The generals. The captains. The officers. The troopers. And the sisters. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shah. Thank you. So be it. Prayer for the prophesied curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, listen to us now. Right now. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us, thy prophet, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel. They refuse to give to the school. Force their riches to enter into thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses, punishment and destruction to the Edomites, the nations, the drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the government surrounding us, Amalek synagogues, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Islam, Christianity, Egyptology, militia, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation, skinheads, Pachacomatazzi, the gay movement, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA Space Program, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street. Open up the internet for the airwaves, cable access channels, and the radio channels. Convict the spirit, any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way. We try to stop us, broadcasting your words throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues, cause them to go to and fro through the earth and consume with the plagues. Shake the house of the thief and the murder. Let your house shine. Michael and Gabriel come down flying saucers and punish all the heathen that come up against us as we speak thy words. Cause it to be known by all. It is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread to the media throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahweh Shah. Thank you always. So be it. So our face to front. That concludes the Sabbath service. We're going to pick it up next week at Leviticus 21 and verse 3. We'll give one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Imad Shabbat, Imad Barak, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Shah, As Dismissed.